After defeating her sister Anna, Nina Williams was without an immediate goal to pursue. Jin Kazama, who had become the leader of the Mishima Zaibatsu, recruited her as a member of his special forces. Nina was not picky about her clients. She engaged in covert demolition operations around the world as part of the Tekken force. As the world was engulfed in war and the conflict between the Mishima Zaibatsu and G Corporation escalated, the Mishima Zaibatsu announced the King of Iron Fist Tournament 6. Nina decides to enter the tournament in order to eliminate those who pose a threat to Jin Kazama. Nina's story in Tekken 6 seems to suggest that the sibling rivalry is over, with Nina winning. As if. Also, she's aligned herself with Jin, just in time for him to become a genocidal maniac and the antagonist for the first time. Tekken 6 came out at a tough time for me. It was between my final year of high school and my first year of university. I was stressed and unable to put as much thought into the games as I had previously. Honestly, that stress seems pretty trivial now, but it was tough at the time. I had a small character crisis at the start, and considered dropping Nina to use either Jin, Lee, or Wang, but I would only have used Nina in tournaments. Except that one clip of me using Lee, which is somewhere on YouTube. I had been a part of the arcade community and the fighting game community for a couple of years by now, so even if I wasn't focusing as much on the game, I was still playing a decent amount and holding my own, including winning a few tournaments. New Zealand had a nationwide tournament for Tekken 6, with the top players being flown to the Philippines to compete and also meet Harada and Michael Murray. I know I didn't really stand a chance of winning this, but I did actually manage to win a qualifying tournament in both the region of my university and a region of my hometown, so I could have progressed to the next stage, and I don't know how far that was from the finals. Who knows? Unfortunately, due to other commitments, I had to forfeit my place, and the next in line competed instead of me, for both of those regions. As I was starting university, I was kind of between two cities a lot, but mostly around my university in Dunedin, so I wasn't around the players I was really familiar with, or the community I knew. There was one arcade that had a player that used Miguel and Armor King, if I remember correctly, and I'd go there during some lunch breaks and verse him for maybe an hour or so, but one day he just stopped coming, and I couldn't really find anyone else. So I guess it was time for me to find my own players in the area. By the Bloodline Rebellion update and the console release, I was now moving into a flat with 5 others, all who didn't have much choice but to learn the ways of Tekken from me. This was probably my first taste of trying to properly explain the fighting game mechanics to someone, and before this, the main people who I was playing with were really the ones who were teaching me. We had a lot of fun, and some of my flatmates continued to pursue fighting games and the FGC even beyond my encouragement. It was also these flatmates that helped me to claim my gamertag, A Friendly Tree. One of them jokingly said an incorrect song lyric to the theme song for Toy Story, stating, "You've got a friendly tree." I thought this was a great reference, and as I would often be using Mokujin when playing Tekken with them, or Nature's Prophet when playing Dota, I took claim to the name. Most people wouldn't know me as a friendly tree until a few years later, once I'd moved to Australia. Most people in the New Zealand community knew me as Scythe Panama. Also, don't ask about Dota. With a new game comes a new Nina. If I were to quickly summarise what Nina gained in Tekken 6, I would say that this is when she gained her threatening lows and the ability to juggle you from the window to the wall. I'm sure I've heard that expression somewhere, but I don't know where. The changes to the character aren't as drastic as they were from Tekken 4 to Tekken 5, but they were changes that seemed to complement her really well. So, what's new here? The sweeper combo is a 2-hit mid-kick extension from her forward 4, both are minus 14 on block. The final hit causes a bound on an airborne opponent, and the second hit is a launcher, with forward 4-3 being a natural counter combo. Backhand combo is a new powerful 12-frame punisher, with the first 2 hits at least. You can sidestep cancel the final hit or counter hit confirm it. Just don't throw it out randomly as it's duckable. Cutthroat is an amazing low into a high. The low is 20 frames, evades highs, and does a significant 18 damage. Not bad for only negative 12 on block, but unlike in future games, it's minus 6 on hit. The full string is a natural counter combo, and the extension can deter opponents from punishing as the second hit will counter hit launch. Easy Prey is a new mid-ender from down 3-4-3. It's also possible to perform from 4-3-4 by inputting it down between the second and third hit. The final hit isn't a counter hit launcher yet, and it's steppable. Nothing is a natural combo here, but a counter hit will make the following hit combo, but not the entire string. Stiletto Heel is her version of Anna's Wine Opener. Good frame advantage, but doesn't high evade or do as much damage as down 2. Binding Whip is a new 18 frame launcher and safer than her other options, the trade-off being that it causes a bound. Forward 1+2 finally has its own animation, and it also now hits grounded. Whether you charge this move fully or not, it's at least minus 15. Fluttering Butterfly has been the talk of the town since it first appeared in Tekken 6. A natural combo for punishment, but more importantly, a strong tool for combo damage and wall carry. Flashing Escape is a risky extension to while standing 4. It is a natural counter combo with a free follow-up, and the second hit is a counter hit launcher. Side Slip is a long-range, variable risk low that can help her approach. In this game it will knock down on counter hit, but not give a juggle. Jabs have been more normalised across the board, with them being 10 frames at fastest. They now give better advantage on hits. Ivory Cutter lost its counter hit properties, and is now minus 6 for its crouch on block instead of minus 7. Oh, they did make it bound to keep it relevant too. Down 3-2 is now minus 15 instead of minus 17. All the strings into it are still minus 10. Left backhand body blow went from minus 17 to minus 11. It'll also knock down a normal hit and cause a launch on counter hit. Skull Splitter is now a launcher on normal hit. They removed the back foot 3 input for Spider Knee. It can only be done as while standing 3. Sadistic Cupid went from minus 10 on block to minus 1. Shut Up has been given a new launching animation, just like Jin and Wang's hop kick in Tekken 6. Lift Shot is still only minus 12 on block, and it's still a normal hit launcher. Ray Hand still causes a breakable stun on counter hit. If they don't tap forward, Nina gets a free launch. While any launch can really work, down forward 2 is low risk and makes him have to break the stun and block quickly. Spear Kick is still plus 18 on counter hit, with more options you can use after this now. Where are we? What is this? The Scenario Campaign mode was awesome. It's kind of like Tekken Force mode times 100. You have Elisa as your assistant on most stages, and you unlock items, you pick up items, you customize your character, and it really worked like an RPG where you'd get different stat buffs based on the equipment you equipped. You could even get things like an additional bound in your combos if you had the right items equipped. This stage that I'm playing right now is the hardest stage in the game, on the hardest difficulty by the way, between medium and hard difficulty. I've got no customizations on my character, so very little health, very little damage, and it's a real struggle. If you survive long enough, Devil Jin will appear, and then he'll be the final boss fight, but I'm not going to last that long here, not unless Elisa pulls out some kind of miracle, like, I don't know, chainsaws. A really cool feature that they had for this mode, as well as all the customization and RPG aspects, was it had online co-op. So you could actually play with other players and do this level, and have help to beat it. I could do with that help right now. What do you do here? You can't do anything. Oh well, better luck next time. It's a fun mode. As they say, Tekken 6 didn't stray too dramatically from the formula established by Tekken 5. The biggest difference was the inclusion of bounds and combos. Certain moves would have the property of an airborne opponent to bounce them on the ground and allow you to extend your combos. Nina's Ivory Cutter would be her main tool for this, helping her to stay relevant in her toolkit. We saw the addition of Leo Cleason, Miguel Caballero Rojo, Zafina, and Bob Richards in Tekken 6. Apologies for my pronunciation. Then, similar to Tekken 5 Dark Resurrection, we had an update with Tekken 6 Bloodline Rebellion, and this included newcomers Lars Alexanderson and Elisa Boskanovic. While Lars definitely left the biggest imprint in the story, being the main protagonist in Tekken 6, Bob is the character that left the biggest imprint on the community, no pun intended. Bob's toolkit was considered obnoxiously strong, with things like a safe 15 frame down forward 2, with little shortcomings and insane juggle damage, strong movement despite his size, with a Mishima wave dash, and also great lows including a launching hell sweep. Bob was toned down a lot in Tekken 6 Bloodline Rebellion, yet it still managed to be a Bob mirror match in the 2011 EVO Grand Finals. Tekken 6 also introduced its first sort of bonus round, and that of course is in Nancy. While other fighting games had you beating up a car or collecting coins or something, you were tasked with battling a giant spider robot thing on a moving elevator. Nancy would be firing rockets at you, trying to knock you off, and even making holes in the ground to make you fall. Fortunately, it didn't matter if you lost, and the prize was only a couple of extra gold coins for customization. If you knew the patterns well and played patiently, I suppose Nancy wasn't too different from a Dark Souls boss. I was just messing around here, but could have played slower and maybe won this. An alternative is to pick Devil Jin and just spam his up laser until you'd won. That was satisfying to do. Better luck next time. No bonus. So, this is a playthrough of the arcade mode that I'm showing. In Nina's story mode, or arena mode accessed in the scenario campaign, Nina doesn't fight Jin, or get to face Nancy. Instead, she will face Lars, Anna, Kazuya, and Azazel, the opponents you'd expect her to face in the story. Arcade mode isn't made to hint at the individual stories, and it's more traditional, I suppose. It doesn't have the character prologue or ending movie like I've included in this video either. Unlike the arcade mode at the arcades though, you can see that the console version has you versing ghosts, and you can promote your character's offline rank through this mode. At the arcade, this was possible, but you didn't face the ghost, and they didn't have customizations, and you could only rank up until first dan. The console offline rank is separate to the online rank, while the arcade rank was a singular rank for versing both the computer and real opponents. Another new mechanic I need to mention is Rage. This is intended as a comeback mechanic, and when your life drops below a certain level, your life bar would start flashing red and your attacks would do increased damage. For this boss fight, Jin has Rage the entire time. No additional moves or properties were accessed with Rage, but it's a unique option which is contrary to the Guts mechanic found in many other fighting games. As you would expect, some mechanics started off a little strong and got toned down during the life of the game. For example, Heat used to activate earlier, low parries allowed you to do a bound in the combo, and opponents didn't fall down the wall as fast, giving absurd wall hits. And who is the final boss? Azazel, of course. There are a variety of Azazels throughout mythology, and I don't believe any directly align with our friend here in Tekken. This Azazel appears to be of Egyptian origin. Take note of the outfit. They have goat horns, a face that reminds me of a witch from the movie Witches, crystal shards all over the place, a huge dinosaur tail, and of course, chicken-like legs. Brah, don't skip leg day. Jin believes that Azazel is the being that caused the devil gene, so naturally felt that starting World War III was the only way to ensure a safe and happy future. In one of the mythological depictions of Azazel, he is said to have rebelled against God to mate with women on Earth, and thus corrupted and contaminated the human race. Perhaps they did draw from this, at least a little. Tekken's Azazel is said to have ruled over heaven and earth thousands of years ago, before humans rebelled and sealed them away with magic. We know very little beyond that. Azazel has a very limited move pool and is a non-playable character without using cheats. There is no crouching animation, and Azazel often won't recoil from your attacks. However, due to the size difference, a lot of characters can get much longer juggles on Azazel. Overall, it feels like a much easier boss fight than a lot of the others, as long as you're patient. Nina doesn't really have an interaction with Azazel. She's busy running the mission as Zabatsu or something, while Jin's busy playing Demon Slayer. She's already got massively long juggles on most characters too, so the novelty of this fight seemed a little limited for her in my opinion. But perhaps a big part of that is just because she was considered so strong in this game. She was considered incredibly strong in Tekken 6. I vividly remember other players getting irritated by me using her, proclaiming that I was only winning because I picked up a cheap, overpowered character. One time at the arcade, at around 1 AM, a guy came and challenged me with a large group of his friends watching. They started making threats about beating me up if their friend didn't win. They were clearly drunk and rowdy, and I don't think they meant what they had said, but I had enough reason to not risk it, so I did lose and then leave quickly. It's fair to have banter, and that's likely all it was meant to be, but it's important to not make the insults personal, especially if it's about a game, winning or losing in a two-player game, or about the character they're using being too strong. I mean, sure, she is strong. Strong enough to have a competitive presence and be arguably the strongest female character in the game, but it was due to a variety of unique tools and wasn't achieved through overshadowing the rest of the cast. Nina was in a great position in Tekken 6 and was truly well-rounded. The addition of her butterflies and her cutthroat low down to made her fun to use and really pack a punch. I hope you've enjoyed my retrospective look at Tekken 6.
Idiot.